This tribunal has convened in accordance with Signarin military law to assist the ongoing inquest into the unknown whereabouts of Commander Dalen Sturgis.
You are listening to the Freelancer Codex, a podcast brought to you by the Shut Up and Respawn Network.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 151 of the Freelancer Codex podcast, the longest-running podcast that used to be an Anthem-focused podcast, and it's now being carried on by two of the hosts because we like talking about video games and other things, and we've been doing it for such a long time that it's kind of a habit, and habits are hard to break. So here we are, push and record, live to hard drive, in your ear holes for some period of time. Today is a very...
Got really graphic, man. Let's dial it back a little bit.
How should I say it? Should I?
I don't know. Like
just different.
You've got some great adjectives going on there, but man.
Yeah. So today is episode 151, and today is thank you, Dolphin number one, for the follow. We appreciate it. Today is an important day because today is Cyberpunk 2077 day, and everyone in the world, I believe, is playing Cyberpunk. And I guess first off, we are recording.
First of all.
How's it going? First of all, we can't talk, but that's okay. That's nothing new here. We are recording today on a Wednesday. Normally, we record these on Thursdays because of some scheduling conflicts that have come up. We are moving the show to Wednesday for the foreseeable future. If anything changes, we will let everyone know. This was kind of something that was last minute, so we just kind of had to dive into it. We'll check it out, and we'll see. We will not be talking about Cyberpunk. I know maybe that's the expectation just because the rest of the world is playing Cyberpunk. We will not be talking about it today. We'll add it. There's a couple news stories that I think we should mention about it. But because I haven't had a lot of time to play it, I haven't had any time to play it. I was planning on diving into it at the end of this show. After we get everything posted, I'll dive into it, check it out, and then we can talk about it next week when I've had more time with it. Mike, I don't know if you decided if you're going to be playing the game at all.
I haven't decided yet. I haven't decided if I'm going to be playing it yet. I'm still kind of on the fence. It is around that time of year where if I buy things for myself, I sleep on the couch. And so it may have to go on a list somewhere so that it comes to me for Christmas. So that's kind of where I am.
I totally understand. And it's also not a bad idea. We always talk about, not pre-ordering games and waiting for reviews to come out. So it's probably not a bad idea just to wait for those things to actually come out so you can know if it's a game that you would enjoy anyway. So
right.
We'll talk more about our impressions or my impressions on Cyberpunk 2077 next week. And I hope everyone is enjoying it, that is excited about the game. It's been a long wait. The game has been in development for like 7 years or something. It's been delayed multiple times this year. From talking to some people, maybe it needed a little bit more of a delay, but that's neither here nor there. Sometimes, eventually, you just have to put out the game and then just kind of go from there, right? But, yeah, we'll dive into that a little bit more. All right, so with that being said, I want to thank our Patreon subscribers, the people that have been supporting us on Patreon for a very long time, people that help keep our lights on, people that help keep our internet flowing through our internet pipes. So let's thank Julius, Nathan B, Michael R, Trent B, Man and Steel, Scout 69, Dragonheart 76, Jeffrey H, The Gameplay Experience, R, Z, and Phaedrons. Thank you so very much for supporting the show. We really appreciate it. If you want to join them, if you want to get 15 minutes of bonus pre-show content where we talk about things like what happened to Mike's van, what happened to my heater, you can do that. So go do that by supporting us at the $1 tier at patreon.com/freelancercodex. All right, Mike, I want to know what you have been up to this week.
So the boys and I have found a mobile game. We found it from the iOS App Store. And it is called Stack. S-T-A-K. S-T-A-C-K.
S-T-A-K or C-K?
S-T-A-C-K. I should probably learn how to spell. So this is one of those simple standing in line, waiting in a waiting room games that is unfortunately kind of addictive because you want to do good, right? You want to do good in it. So what this is, and it's a super simple premise, right? So you have these square tiles that slide in from the left and from the right, one at a time. So one from the left, one from the right. It slides in, and your job is to tap the screen at the right point to where it lines up with the tile below it, right? If it does not line up with the tile below it, everything that is hanging off falls off. So your tile then becomes smaller, okay? And as you build your tower up, if you can line up these tiles on top of each other, you'll have a higher tower because you won't run out of materials. If you can get 8 tiles stacked on top of each other in succession, you will grow your tile if it has fallen off, right? So there's incentives to stack them on. It's really fun. It's really addictive. Luke has beaten me. His tower is higher than mine. His record is 92 tiles and mine is 82. I think that's why I'm still continuing to play, because I have to beat him. Right?
I understand.
I can't let him beat me.
We don't condone beating your son, though.
It's true, but in this case, I will beat him until the sun goes down. I don't know. So yeah, it's a super fun, super easy. We get to sit around, play the game at the same time with each other, and so it's just fun. Just a simple game. Game to do.
Is it like a reverse Tetris?
No, because it's the same. There aren't multiple pieces. It's the same size tile that comes in each time. And just think of ceramic floor tiles that kind of slide in, and then you stack them on top of each other, and you just build your tower all the way up to see how high you can get it. So it's fun.
Are there birds or anything that come in and attack you, or is it something like
no birds? It's not like a tower that like out in the open tower. It really and truly think of like floor tiles. So even though your stack is super big, it could still fit inside your house.
Microtransactions?
No, but lots of ads. And you know what? They got me because I paid the $3. Not only did I pay the $3 on my phone to get rid of the ads, but I paid the $3 on Luke's phone to get rid of the ads, because so many ads and you have to watch and you can't get out, and it's just so frustrating.
That's
like,
weird.
Guys, just
weird.
Just sell your game. Like, sell your game without ads. And like, well, I guess if it was a you have to buy first, I may not have done it, because that's just I'm not gonna buy this. Blah, 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 blah. So yeah, they got me.
Right,
They got me twice.
We still have that thing where it's like, oh, it's a phone game, so it's not worth as much, so we're less willing to pay money on the App Store. That's
Exactly.
weird that you had to buy it and he had to buy it, because generally if you have the family sharing thing, that those purchases share. So it's really weird that you would have to do that.
So I think one of the problems with it was, because I'm thinking the same thing, but I think because I have screen time set up on the kids' phones, it does something to where those in-app purchases don't transfer. And so I need to look at it more, but I think in order to do it, I would have to go in and disable the screen time, allow them to make in-app purchases. After they do it, then go back in and turn back on screen time. It's a process.
You know what it probably is? Like, if the game was if you pay for it up front, that would share. Because I've purchased Portal Bridge Constructor on my phone, and all my kids can download it on their device. But because it's an in-app purchase, that's not something that would be shared. So that's probably why that you had to buy
Probably
twice.
what it is.
That's unfortunate. So,
but they got me, and it's fun. It's fun to play. And then my oldest son and I, again, this is through Apple, because those are the devices that we have. There's an in-message gaming app that we use, and they have simple games, right? Darts, and they're all turn-based. So I play my turn, it sends a message to him, he plays his turn, sends a message to me, and so we go back and forth that way. And we've been gaming that way. He's been having fun with it. We played Battleship, we play pool, we play darts, and so he's having a lot of fun with it. So nothing too extravagant. Just really what it is just time wasters. We're all in the house together during the day because of schools being closed, and we're all trying to get our work done, but then we need those breaks to kind of break up the monotony. So we kind of end up doing that, and it's fun. And still chugging along on Destiny and doing strikes, and Iron Banner's back, and that's always a fun thing. I usually do pretty good at that, which is odd because compared to like the other Crucible, I'm not so good. But for some reason, I always have. For some reason, I have good luck with Iron Banner. I get a pretty good KD, and I'm usually always positive on that aspect. And so, playing that, grinding to 1260. I think 1260 is the cap, is the power level cap this season. So grinding to that. I'm at 1230 now, and having fun and trying to just check off those boxes that I've completed this quest line, I've completed that quest line, and man, it's frustrating when an NPC is blinking like they have something to offer you, and when you go to them, there's like no clear path on what they have. There's no like click here to activate this quest, and like these vague kind of clues that are like find all the Corsairs. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And this quest thing that I've gained kind of talks about a Corsair in a garden, but I don't know if that's so. It's kind of frustrating that it's not just go here, go there, because that's kind of more my kind of why I play Destiny currently is to sit, do an objective, don't think about it too much, just kind of go and accomplish the thing, get the reward. But it's not coming as fast as I would like, and so it's a little bit frustrating.
You just want to follow the beacon.
I kind of do just want to follow the beacon sometimes, where I'm just like,
well,
no, guys, just tell me where to go and what to do, and that's fine. I don't mind you telling me where to go and what to do, but just let me go ahead and do that.
That surprises.
And stop making it difficult.
Yeah, it surprises me why you don't play more open world games like Assassin's Creed or something like that, because there's like beacons all over the map that tell you go here and then do this. I'm surprised you don't play more of those games.
You know what, Steve? And it's probably just that I haven't sat down and done it, right? So like, and that's what it is. I haven't sat down and just done it. There's definitely an investment piece in it, right? So you need to make sure that you have the ability to buy said $60 game, because that's how $70 game, because that's how much they are. And so when you're right around Christmas time, and if you're like me and you've already blown your allowance for the month, then you kind of have to,
Yeah, before the CFO has to make some serious changes at the board.
The CFO has those conversations have been had. The letters have been pre-written. All that's required right now is my signature, and she may pressure me into doing that. But it's been fun while it lasted. I guess
maybe it has been. I'm not sure. You don't sound convinced that it has been, but cool. So what else is that all? Or?
It's been good. That's about it. I mean, getting ready for Christmas coming up, and struggling with a sixth grader in school, and just that fun stuff that comes up. We opened up. I don't know if your family does this or if anybody else's family does this, but our family does the pair of socks a day countdown thing, and today was our first day, so we started that, and the girls were pretty excited for their socks, and so that was fun. So right now I'm wearing a pair of Targaryen socks, because the box that I got was Game of Thrones, and yeah. So
like, are you prepared for like the last week of socks that are just going to be like the worst socks you've ever had? Or
they probably are all threadbare, and rats have gotten to them, and
they just like didn't even finish them. They're not even socks. They're just like
they're not even socks.
They could be headbands or something.
Because they're just So I mean, that's about it. That's about all that's going on. I can't complain. So
cool. I'm glad that you can't complain, because if you complain, no one cares. So
no one cares. But so what have you been up to? You got Cyberpunk waiting in the wings, but what else you been going on?
I'll tell you about a bunch of things that I've been doing. First off, I will tell you that I've hit 49,000 words on my book. I'm going to continue to plug away at that, so that is going well. I'm going to. I feel sorry for the person that has to edit that. I'm going to ask Kags if he'll edit it. He already edits me a lot on the subreddit, so he's really good at it. So he'll know exactly where all my typos are. So that'll be fun to do. I want to talk about a couple games that I've tried on Steam. Now, these are new games that I received a code for. This game is called, sorry, I'm writing timestamps down, so I I want to be better at putting timestamps in our shows, so I'm just writing this down really quick. All right, so this game is called Morbid the Seven Acolytes. It is developed by the development studio Still Running. That's the name of it. The name is Still Running. It is 6 different people. I believe they're Finnish. I think that's what the .fi at the end of their the website is for Finland. But this game is pretty interesting. It is a pixel art top-down Souls-like game. So if you can picture that, it's not quite isometric. It's just top-down, very similar to something like A Link to the Past. It's pixel art, but it's a Souls game. So there's dodging, there's parrying, there's attacks. You have a stamina meter, so you can only attack for so long before you have to rest. You get to roll away out of the way of things. The way this one starts, and I guess first, the tone of the game, it is very similar to Dark Souls, where it's very dark. It is very moody. There is a lot of weird, creepy-looking creatures that you have to fight through. You end up crashing a boat onto an island. That's where the game starts. The tutorial begins, like you're finding books. It's telling you, hey, you push this button to attack, push this button to roll. There's a bunch of weird, creepy, like skeletal, like fish around that if you attack them, they explode, and like these little pus things come out at you, and you have to attack them. So it's very much you find a new enemy, you learn what their patterns are, you attack from them. I listened to a couple streams that the developers were doing on the game, and they talked about this was really supposed to just be like kind of a boss rush mode, but they ended up wanting to do more than that, so they added these levels into it to where you explore, you find lore, you attack a bunch of people. I think it's a really interesting game. I need to put more time into it to really feel like if this is something that I really want to continue with. Souls-like games really ask a lot of their players to learn the mechanics, learn the patterns, have the patience to die over and over and over again. The pixel art is really what, caught my attention. We're like, hey, I really want to try this, just because I'm a huge fan of that aesthetic. And, the game oozes like personality and character. So I do think it's really interesting. The story is like, and the story was like explained with one line of text from an NPC that you come across, that you have to defeat 7 bosses in order to defeat the main bad guy. And that's really it. So, and it's kind of set up that way. But it's interesting. It has a Diablo style inventory system where, you go and you pick something up and you're going to have to get rid of it if you don't have enough room to put it in. There's a lot of the other systems that I haven't gotten into yet. But I think Morbid the Seven Acolytes, I think if you are into Souls-like games and you're kind of looking for a different one, you're looking for something new instead of like the third person, I think this might be looking into. If that's something that interests you, you can follow Morbid the Seven Acolytes on Steam. If you want to find out more, I think I will probably put more time into it, and I'll report back on it if it's something that like if it's something that I just picked up and put down, or if it's something that I want to continue with and see the end of it. I mean, I don't think it's a very long game, which is fine. I don't think all games need to be 40, 60 hours or whatever. But this one is interesting, so look out for Morbid the Seven Acolytes. And I will put the links to the Steam page in the show notes so that people, if they want to go check it out, they can. So that is Morbid the Seven Acolytes. The other game that I played on Steam, sorry, I'm just getting a timestamp here. Timestamp. So this one, I'm not going to talk too much about it. It's called Abyss, the Forgotten Past. This was another code I received also. This is it's an interesting game that I was not able to play it all because of the bugs that it had. It crashed on me in the opening scene. I tried multiple times to get it to play and was just never able to get it to work on my system, which is weird because it's like a Legend of Zelda 2 type side-scrolling game. But I just never was able to get it to work. So that's something I'm going to either wait for a patch to give it a go again. But that was Abyss, the Forgotten Past, and I just did not have much success with that. So, all right. Other than other than that, I've been doing a lot of writing and waiting for Cyberpunk to give that game a go, and fighting with heaters. For some reason, the heater in my house went out, and I really hate it when things in the house just like stop working, like with no apparent reason. Like, it's fine if like a water heater like explodes. At least you know that the water heater exploded, right? You know exactly like what happened and what you need to do to fix it. You just got to go get a new water heater. But when something just stops working and there's no apparent cause to it, and then you have to go through all the troubleshooting steps, and especially with something like a heater's not like a computer where you can like, figure it out fairly simple, like, oh, what's going wrong.
You can figure it out while you're warm, because the computer going down affects one person in the house, right? Heater going down affects everybody in the house.
And then everyone's just kind of like watching me as I like try to troubleshoot this thing, and like, when's the heat gonna come back on? It's like, I don't know, get another blanket or something.
And then every other question is, did you fix it? You need to call Mike? What's going on? Like, just let me do it.
Yeah. So luckily I got that solved. Just you take everything apart, you put it back together, try that. If it doesn't work, you take it apart again, just to say that you like took everything apart twice, just to make sure it did. And I think it's working, so it's turning on, and there's heat in the house at least, so that we've got that going for us. But other than that's kind of just been what we've been working on, waiting for Cyberpunk, and I think the rest of the world has been waiting for Cyberpunk, so there's been a lot of slow news. So there's a couple things that we can talk about, and if not, we'll just like, hey, it's time to go play Cyberpunk. We'll call it early, and then we'll just dive into that. So, but first, Mike, let's get into the news. And you know who we should have send us into the news? Our man Keanu.
All right. I gotta talk to you about something.
All right. This is something that when I saw it, I was both disgusted and was like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. Square Enix... We recently saw some slides from Sony. They were talking about Square Enix Project Athia. That is the short teaser that we saw. Did we see it last Video Game Awards? No, I think we saw it during like a PlayStation 5 event. So Square Enix Project Athia, that's where we saw like a lady land, and then there was like this dragon that was like on fire from the inside, and then that was kind of it. It was just kind of like a little teaser. Anyway, it is an upcoming PC and PlayStation 5 project from Square Enix, and it has, Michael, a 2-year period console exclusivity.
Of course it does.
So there's no release date yet. We don't know really what it's about, but whenever it does arrive, Xbox will not get it for 2 years after.
Like... that, I don't like it. I get it, but I don't like it. Maybe I get it. I know why. I think I know why that's done for, because everybody likes exclusives, right? Saying that you're exclusive gives some type of, I don't even know what the word is. So it sets your game apart from everything else, right? Oh, you can only play it here. Make sure you play it here, because then you get all those people who are like, well, I can only play this game here, and I played this game here. So it's just, I guess it doesn't make sense to me. Number one, why a developer, a studio, whoever it is, would want to limit the amount of people who get a hold of their game. It just seems strange to me. But I also get it from the point where, there's a little bit of, I have this before you do kind of thing. It just boggles my mind. Like, so we were talking a little bit earlier off air, kind of how all the streaming services, it seems like they all have the same shows. And so what streaming service gets you the why do you have all of them kind of thing? So like, what's the benefit if everybody has it? And I guess there's a benefit of keeping an audience away, but I can't see it. It's just frustrating.
I think it's a little bit different ask though when we're talking about streaming services and they're like, hey, $15 a month. Even if you're just like want it one time, all you have to do is pay $15 and you get access to that content. But if we're talking like, no, you have to buy an Xbox or you have to buy a PlayStation, and that's like a $500 investment. I mean, that's a little bit more of an ask, I think. And
then what happens when your game isn't good? If that happens, right? If your game isn't good, then somebody who went in only for that game, has a console that they never would have had before. And instead of really what it turns into, instead of buying a $60 game, you're buying a $560 game, right?
I guess that's why we tell people not to pre-order games until they find out if they're good or not, right? Because there is that potential. I just think that it's a little like it's that Star Wars meme, like it's getting a little out of hand here. Like when we talked about, stupid like guns and strikes and Destiny being exclusive for an entire year for PlayStation, like we all hated that, and that was just like small portions of the content. We still had access to the main storyline and a majority of the weapons. Like I hate exclusivity deals because at this point, like 2 years, like I don't know, just buy Square, Sony. Like if you're gonna do this crap, just buy them, and because it's like it would be an easier pill to swallow knowing that okay, it's every single Square title goes to Sony, and then I'll just buy a PlayStation. But when it's like it's a 2-year exclusive, it's like they want them to be like a first-party studio, but they're just paying for it for a short amount of time. I don't know. It's a practice that they continue to do it because it proves to work, or else they would have stopped doing it. And Square's like, well, they must have forked over a ton of cash. I mean, like, I would not be surprised if they're funding the majority of the development of the game, right? And Square's like, okay, like, yeah, we'll for sure give you guys, 2 years exclusivity if you're paying our bills and we're able to pay all of our developers so that they can feed their families, and do all their things. Like as a business move for Square, like, yeah, let's do that. You're taking away the risk of us like having to use cash or raise cash from multiple sources. Like if they're going to do that, like I can totally see why Square would be like, yeah, sure, let's do this. Yeah. But also like if we learn tomorrow that Microsoft bought Square, which would be like a huge acquisition. I don't think Square's for sale, but after, buying Bethesda, I guess anyone can be for sale for the right amount of money, right?
With the right amount of money, everything's for sale, right?
But yeah, I think it's like it sucks, but this is what Sony is going to continue to do. So it's like no matter even if it sucks or not, like it's either get on board or just don't play Project Athia on an Xbox for 2 years. Like I'll play it on PC because I'm interested in that stuff and what Square's doing, because Project Athia is being developed by the team that made Final Fantasy 15, and that was an interesting game. So I mean, we'll see. I mean, we already know that Final Fantasy 16 is also going to be a console exclusive for some period of time for Sony, which is weird that we found out about the Project Athia time deal before we found out like how long it's going to be for Final Fantasy 16, which should come out before Project Athia, but who really knows? So congratulations to everyone that has bought a PlayStation 5 that they will get to play Project Athia on 2 years before anyone else on Xbox. So
yeah, so like the 6 people who have it, right? Because they're super hard to get,
and a bunch of them fell into the ocean apparently when I
did a transport fall over.
A transport like lost a bunch of crates off of one. The boat didn't sink, but they lost like 130 containers off of a boat. So
oh man, we got to go find those.
Do you think they float?
The metal crates?
Yeah.
The metal shipping containers that really don't float. Do I think they float?
Boats float.
Boats float. Boats are definitely. We could get into a whole discussion about water displacement and how that all works and buoyancy. I don't think the shipping containers are very buoyant.
I mean, I want to know like what hit it out there. Like what hit the boat?
A wave.
A wave?
Yeah, a wave. Out of the ocean? A wave hit it.
Is that
Chance
typical?
A million out in the ocean.
It's not very typical now, is it? All right. Sorry, got distracted.
Oh man, that's the best. So where did it? I'm kind of curious now because where did it fall off? I may go find it.
It came from China.
Can
How
you
are you
do
gonna go
that?
find it?
I mean, can you do that? Can you go salvage that stuff? Can divers go do that?
I don't see why they wouldn't be able to. I mean, once you're in international waters, like anything goes, right?
Is that true?
Finder.
Oh man.
Possession is 9/10 the law, something like that. Like we found this container. We found all these processors that were supposed to be shipped that no one can find, so now they belong to us. All your base belong to us.
I wonder that's kind of a lot of water damage unless those containers are pretty well sealed, right?
You would think that if you were a person that was buying something, you would want your product to be sealed.
I am a person.
If you, Michael, were a person, you would want your product to be like sealed, right? So you would want it to be.
But would I necessarily need it to be watertight?
And
here's another thing: if I'm
uh-huh.
shipping across the world, across the ocean, wouldn't I want to make sure that my shipping containers, in the case that something does happen, the containers themselves float so I can reclaim that product? Or are they just like, all right, go get them? I guess if it falls off, it falls off.
I mean, I don't think that tanker's gonna stop and try to recover one. I mean, like those things are like.
But you could send in like a chase boat. Hey, we lost. Because how many containers did they lose?
Like 103 or something.
Yeah, that's a lot of containers, I would think.
I'm not sure. We'll have to do some research.
Yeah,
we'll find out. No, you don't have to.
A little bit of a derailment.
Yeah, I'm so upset that you derailed the Freelancer Codex podcast. We never get derailed on anything. It's never happened. Mike, do you like the Hitman games?
I have tried watching the Hitman movie.
How was the movie?
Like I said, I tried. I didn't get very far.
Speaking of Hitman movies, we watched. Oh shoot, what was it called? We watched Terminator: Dark Fate last night. Is that the name of the show? Dark Fate?
I have no idea.
Let me see. Terminator. Yeah, Dark Fate. That movie's bad. It's like not
really?
good. Like the CGI, because they do a bunch of like guys jumping around and getting thrown into walls and stuff. It reminded me of like 2009 Matrix. Like
nice.
Of Neo like diving around and like they're just learning that we could do full bodies in CGI. It was just like not good. And I'm like, this is a 2009 movie. Jurassic Park came out in like 2003 and those dinosaurs still look real today. Like what is going on that our CGI people like look like they are in like an episode of Reboot? It was really
Reboot.
Weird.
That's funny.
Anyway, so Hitman 3 has been announced. Hitman 3 is a dramatic conclusion to the World of Assassination trilogy, and it takes players around the world on a globe-trotting adventure, and a lot of people are really excited about this. The Hitman series is not something that I've ever gotten into, but I am going to dive in because I think the trailer looks really interesting. I think the idea of just like a sandbox of like, all right, there's your objective, go figure out how to do it, sounds really, really interesting. So I'm excited to dive in. I think Hitman, one of the games is on Game Pass also. I'm pretty sure one of the Hitman games is on Game Pass. So I'm going to look that up because I don't want to lie to people because lying to people is no good.
I'm okay with it.
So that's what I think we should do, Mike. I think you and I should play a Hitman game and then we should report on it. Or
play Hitman and report out?
Yeah. What do you think? Are you down for that? Are you down to actually like play a video game?
I played Zero Dawn.
How far did you get into Zero Dawn?
I don't want to talk about it.
I understand. Hitman it might be on Game Pass. It is not on Game Pass on the computer. I really wish that Xbox would get on that whole everything that is on Game Pass on the PC on the Xbox is on Game Pass on the PC because I really don't like how they are separate. I actually don't know why they're separate also. Like most of those games are on the PC also. There's like not many of them that are
I wonder if some of the titles have hardware requirements.
Well, I mean either way, like if you're bringing it over to PC, like yeah, I've got a keyboard and mouse here or I can play on a controller.
I'm just saying, maybe there's software requirements. Maybe there's I don't know. Maybe there's something.
Yeah, I'm sure there's something because that's why it's keeping them from doing that. All right, so Hitman 3, it's going to be coming out. I think it's going to be available, and this is actually really soon, January 20th of 2021. One of the games that I wonder if game was delayed.
Do you think we'll ever make it to 2021?
We might. I mean, we're pretty close, but considering like every time we log onto the internet, there's like a delay for a game that's being pushed out. Like, hey, this one's actually going to be coming out January 20th of 2021. So
2021 delayed in a shocking turn. 2021 has been delayed.
they just delayed 2021 just that day.
Yeah, just that.
You just have to live with some of that time. Remember that time when we delayed 2021? Even though it's March, we're gonna do January 20th right now. That's dumb. All right,
it would be dumb.
That's a dumb bit. There's got to be a better joke in there than any joke that we attempted to make.
We tried. We were just. I mean, we can try. We'll go. We'll bring it back. We'll see what happens.
All right, we'll workshop it. Mike, do you know?
We will.
Do you know this studio called Blizzard? Do you know?
I do. I got into Blizzard gaming. My first experience with Blizzard gaming was the World of Warcraft, Orcs versus Humans.
Not the World of Warcraft.
Warcraft, Orcs versus Humans. That was my first Blizzard experience, and man, it was a lot of fun. You remember when we, our aunt got a computer for like the first time and like set it up to this funky thing called the internet, and we would have to run to her house, which is like 3 or 4 houses down, set them up so we could play with our cousins on this game over the internet, and we thought that was the coolest thing, right? We're sitting in our living room, and they're playing with us in their living room. How cool is this, Mom? And she's like, just go chop the wood, and we're like, oh, okay. So, Blizzard, I do. That being said, I do know Blizzard.
I remember building roads to connect your town. Like, if you cannot build that farm unless there's a road to that farm. How dare you think that there's any other way of doing that?
And then the very next update was, yeah, you don't need roads anymore.
Yeah, that was a stupid idea. Sorry about that, guys. It's like 1990. Sorry about that whole road idea. No, it's got to be earlier than 1990. It's got to be like 1995. Orcs versus humans date. It was in 1994. I was close. November 23rd, 1994. I was only like a month and a half off, so, of my time frame there. Yeah, roads, man. And then spiders. Like, the orcs could summon spiders, and then they had the demons, and weird game,
and
man.
then remember when you got the water warfare, and you had to build personnel transports and warships, and I should go back and find that game.
Dude,
that's a fun game.
Tides of Darkness was like, that's got to be like one of my favorite games of all times, because when they changed the art style, they went to a more drawn art style. They had the trolls that would throw axe. They were hatchet throwers. Man, that game was cool. Like having the boats, having the oil rigs, like having big old, battles on the water. That game was cool, man. Like,
it was fun. It was fun.
Like, I remember I played that game against Ben Oaks back in the day. It's like, don't pick up the phone, Mom. That's funny. Mom always picked up the phone. What were we talking about? So Blizzard is a studio that they made a lot of stuff. Currently, they've been in the news because they created a game back in 2004. It released in November. I happened to miss that time when it launched. It was one of my most anticipated games, and I took off out of the country, so I missed it all. They released an expansion to World of Warcraft, and it is the fastest selling PC game of all time. So, and they have the numbers to back that up. Blizzard reports that Shadowlands sold through 3.7 million units on the first day of launch, which beats out every other game comparatively. They say they beat their own record of Diablo 3, which hit 3.5 million sold on the first day back in 2012. And Blizzard states that they obtained these numbers from sales or downloads based on internal company records and reports from key distributors. That's pretty big. That's pretty big for a game like World of Warcraft to still be throwing up those numbers. Granted, it's been a long time since they've announced like how many concurrent players that they had. I remember at one time they said that they had like over 10 million people subscribed, and they really haven't been talking about that in several years now, just because numbers change and other games have been taking away a lot of that player base. But like selling 3.7 million units on the first day is kind of a huge deal. I wonder how much Cyberpunk will sell today. But yeah, especially for a game that's that old, like WoW doesn't look like super spectacular. I know a lot of people are like, yeah, the game still looks really good. I mean, it has a very stylized art style for a reason. I think it has an art style that lends to it being more like cartoony, so they can kind of drag it along like for a lot longer than any other game would have the right to be. I mean, when you look at things like Fallout and you're like, oh, that game does not look good right now. But Blizzard still plugs along, and they're like getting RTX stuff, and that game still is throwing up these numbers that any other studio would love to have these kind of sales numbers, and it's just going to be there. And I wonder if it's just always going to be there, just like Destiny's always going to be there as the looter shooter for consoles and for PC, that World of Warcraft will always be there. And I wonder if like seeing numbers like this is making them wonder if like, oh, maybe we don't need to make a follow-up to World of Warcraft. We don't need to make a World of Warcraft 2. We can just keep doing this, putting out good expansions. And especially like during the pandemic, I wonder how much of that is like contributing to people wanting to get back into WoW and to purchase it, because like, well, we're home, we've got nothing else going on. So it's pretty impressive. No matter how you shake it, no matter how you spin it, it's impressive that they sold that many on the first day. Probably more people would be jumping in, but yeah, congratulations to Blizzard. They kind of needed a win after a long road of some disappointing game releases and things that happened with World of Warcraft 3 Reforged. But you know, it's Blizzard Activision. I'm sure they're doing just fine. They've got Uncle Moneybags in their back pocket to help them out. But yeah, congratulations to Blizzard for knocking it out of the park. Should we go play WoW now? Out of the park, eh? Mike, do you have anything else you want to talk about? Anything else you want to discuss?
No, nothing that I've seen coming up through my researching and trying to follow some news and stuff. But other than The Mandalorian's awesome. Pretty awesome episode last week. Kiddo spoiled it for me though. But I'll be okay. But other than that,
I'm actually putting together a video for the channel of the best moments of season 1 and 2 of The Mandalorian.
Nice.
Can you guess what moments it will consist of without...
Are you just gonna like play the whole series?
No.
Like from beginning to end?
No.
I guess there are some things where you're like, okay, that's not a good moment. But all right, so here are some of the best moments, right?
So remember, I'm making the video. So what would I consider being the best?
So you're all about ships, right? So
yeah.
the first what am I trying to say? Appearance.
I don't know.
The first appearance of the Razor Crest, because you're all about the Razor Crest, like that's cool. You're like, oh, this is the ship. And then, oh man, when Din Djarin gives Grogu the steel ball and just drops it in his hand.
Gorgu.
That one actually drew a tear. What'd I say?
You said Grogu like he's a Dragon Ball Z fighter.
What'd you say?
Gorgu.
Yeah, I don't think it's Grogu.
It's Grogu.
That's what I said.
No, you said Gorku, like he needs a Zenzu bean after getting beat up by Piccolo.
I didn't say Goku.
You said Gork.
Anyway. So when Din Djarin hands the kid the little ball, like that was like big thing. That was like tears and tears and tears. That was an top 10 scene. I don't want to get into too many without the spoilers, but like the first appearance of the Darksaber, that was cool. And then you've got you've got when Boba Fett reclaims his armor and puts it back on, everybody just like starts to geek out.
I thought you didn't want spoiler alerts.
When every time Mando says this is the way.
Okay, I'll tell you, because you're just gonna start naming things. So it really is every time there's a spaceship on screen is just the top moments from the Mandalorian series. So that video will be coming out. That'll be a lot of fun. All right, so everyone, thank you for hanging out with us for a very short episode 151. Next episode for 152, we will have a lot to discuss. We'll be talking about our impressions on Cyberpunk 2077. We'll be going over the video game awards news that we have. We'll compare it to what our previous predictions were on all of that stuff. We'll see who the best esports champion is. And I think we'll probably continue to record on Wednesday for the foreseeable future. So if this is something that you really enjoy to catch on Twitch, we're going to have to make that change. But this will always be out on all your podcast catchers so that you can tune into the show whenever you want. But for the Freelancer Codex podcast, thank you for being with us. Thank you for being the people that you are. Please be kind to each other, help each other out when they need it. And just, remember that other people are probably struggling more than... There's a lot of people struggling out there, and sometimes a smile is a good way to brighten someone's day. So this is the Freelancer Codex podcast, episode 151. We'll see you later.
Peace. Thank you for listening to the Freelancer Codex, a podcast brought to you by the Shut Up and Respawn Network. Follow us at Freelancer Codex on Twitter or Twitch. Send emails to freelancercodex@gmail.com or voice messages to anchor.fm/freelancercodex/message. We wish to thank all of our Patreons. We are grateful for you all.